All righty, here we go. Good morning. Monday Morning Live right here in Hamilton, Ohio. You're dialed in with Tom Brenneman and Casey McAllister. Casey, how we looking?
We're looking good, Tom. We're looking really
weekend.
good.
You're all bingled up. You're ready for the draft?
Yeah, I'm absolutely ready for the draft, Tom. It is my favorite time of the year, and there's nothing more for me to say other than that. It's one of my favorite times of the year, and I get excited every year when it comes around. It's new players, new faces, and a chance to get your team a little better. So
I think all of us are pretty much worn out on the whole mock draft thing. It's time to get going. And look, people work very hard. A lot of people kind of, they beat up on the people that do the mock draft. That is a lot of work for people who put the time in to do those things. Yeah, and I admire the fact that they're taking time to do it because, look, if they do it, there's a good chance a lot of us are going to read it. We're interested to hear what they have to say for people that are really digging into this stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work that goes into evaluating players, and the margin of error is so slim on some of these guys. You just don't know, who's going to perform better in the SEC. Is it going to be an Alabama or Georgia kid? And sometimes you just read these mock drafts and get a better understanding of what's out there. So
yeah. It's going to be fascinating. And by the way, Friday, Charlie Goldsmith is going to join us. So that'll be the day after the first round. And what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a heads up ahead of time. We're coming your way Friday, at 12:15, right after Off the Bench. And we're going to invite your phone calls because we're doing that now.
Yep.
Pretty regularly. We made it easy for you, and we'd love to hear from you. So Friday, get ready to give me your thoughts or questions, whatever it might be, about the Bengals' first-round pick. So we come your way just to kind of a course refresher here, right? We come your way twice a week. So we're live on Mondays at 9:15 a.m. on Chatterbox. Later that day, we will post on the Believe Network. Fridays, we're on both Believe and Chatterbox Sports. At Chatterbox, it's at noon following Off the Bench. That'll be this Friday. You always can join us on YouTube/Chatterbox Sports, our page here. You can download us wherever you find your podcast. Just search Dialed In with Tom Brenneman, and you're dialed in. Fridays, most of the time, we like having a big interview, but we got to be topical, right? So, I mean, we've had Chip Carey come on from the Cardinals. We've had Chris Myers come on from Fox Sports. Barry Rosner in Chicago, Justin Williams, great stuff on the NIL and the world of college sports. Charlie Goldsmith a couple of weeks ago. Last week, I thought it was very interesting. With all the chatter about pitchers getting hurt around baseball, we had Stan Conti, longtime medical director for 3 different teams, the Giants, the Dodgers, and Marlins, to tell us his thoughts. Is it pitch clock? Is it velocity? Is it gripping the ball? Is it the actual balls? It's good stuff. So check it out. Download it if you can. You can always follow us on X at Tom Brenneman TV. Great to have you with us on this Monday morning. What a weekend. Again for the local 9. That's 2 weekends in a row where the Redlegs have pulled off series sweeps. Last week they outscored Chicago, the White Sox, 27-5. This week they sweep the Angels out of town, outscoring that bunch 17-6. On Friday night, it was all about Elly De La Cruz, right? He had a 3-run home run. Nick Lodolo, 6 1/3 outstanding innings of 1-run baseball. That's back-to-back quality starts for him since coming off the injured list. The Reds snapped a 3-game losing skid, 7-1 over the Angels on Friday night. Not only the 3-run shot by De La Cruz, but the run game, right? He singles with 2 outs in the second. He steals second. He steals third. The throw to third goes into left. He scores. I mean, that's what he can do. When he's on, man, I'm not sure there's a more exciting guy in the league. Acuna's right there. Lodolo, meanwhile, struck out 6 after giving up just 1 hit in 5 2/3 innings. His first start the week before against Chicago. He has been absolutely fantastic through his first 2 starts. All right, so now we go to Saturday, right? Tyler Stevenson clubs his first career grand slam. Stuart Fairchild knocks in a couple of runs. Keep going the other way there, Case. That's good. Keep going. And that was a 7-5 win. Graham Ashcraft wasn't all that great that night. He gave up 5 runs in 6 innings, But Nick Martinez, this is why they brought in Martinez and Suter. Martinez lights out. He goes 3 shutout innings. Alexis Diaz closes out the game. So that brings us to yesterday. And very early on, Casey McAllister was there. Scary moment. Starter Frankie Montas takes a comebacker off his right elbow. Had to leave the game in the first inning. Turns out he's okay. It's just a bruise, thankfully. But again, here's Suter. He was fantastic. 3 1/3 innings. The Reds bullpen goes 8 1/3 innings of 6-hit shutout baseball in a 3-0 win. So, in the NL Central, the Reds are a half game back of Chicago for second place. The white-hot Brewers, who swept the Cardinals over the weekend, are 2.5 games ahead of Cincinnati. The Pirates, as expected, they've begun their free fall. They've lost 6 straight. The hottest team in the National League comes to town tonight. It's a big-time series. 4 games, 3 night games and a day game. The Philadelphia Phillies have won 6 in a row and will send 3-0 lefty Ranger Suarez to the mound tonight against Hunter Green. Green is still in search of his first win of this young season. He's been very inconsistent. You know the story. We know the story. We'll see if it gets better. In the NBA playoffs, winners in Game 1 of 4 series were played yesterday. So your winners were the Clippers, the Celtics, the Bucks, who beat the Pacers without Giannis, and Oklahoma City held off the Zion-less Pelicans by 2. Tonight, Cleveland looks to go up 2-0 on the Knicks, or on Orlando, I beg your pardon. The same holds true for the defending champion Nuggets against the LA Lakers, and the Knicks look to go up 2-0 against the 76ers. In soccer, Luciano Acosta.
Yes, that's correct. Love that guy.
He had a goal and an assist. FC Cincinnati wins 2-1 in Atlanta Saturday night. That means FCC has 4 wins, 2 losses, 3 draws, and with that win, they end a 3-game winless streak. All right, lastly, in golf, couple of notes. Does anybody pay attention to the LPGA? I don't know if you do or don't. Do you pay attention?
I do not.
Okay. I don't either, although our son caddied in that tournament here last year, and it was really enjoyable to watch. They're unbelievable players. But have you seen what this Kelly Korda is doing? Okay, she wins yesterday at the Chevron Championship. All right, no big deal, right? Wrong. She has won 5 straight tournaments, 5 in a row, which ties for the longest in LPGA history. Annika Sorenstam and the legendary Nancy Lopez. She goes for her 6th straight tournament win this weekend in L.A. Then on the men's side, you know, this is where you wonder sometimes. There are so many smart people that run these professional organizations, but what are they thinking yesterday in Hilton Head? They know that the rain is coming, all right, into Hilton Head. Yet the powers that be refuse to start the final round early. So what happens? The rain comes, they halt play, then they run out of daylight. Scott Scheffler is up by 5 shots with 4 holes to play. If he wins, and they'll resume that today, he'll be the 3rd win in 4 attempts this year. And it also would be the first golfer since Bernard Langer back in 1985 to follow a Masters win with a victory the next week for Scheffler. Would actually be his 4th win in his last 5 tournaments. Best player in the world by far, and people talk about the rating stink because he's not this big personality. But a big personality here on Chatterbox is our main man, co-host of Chatterbox Reds. One of the most popular, and this isn't any BS here. This is one of the most popular shows in the world of baseball only. The following has been incredible. So, without further ado, the man himself, Nick Kirby. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Tom. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Got a little vocal thing, trying to work through it, but better than it was on Saturday, that's for sure.
Is that because of all the chatter on Chatterbox Reds? Or are you just a little like you got like sinus problems, you got allergy problems? Any idea?
I'm gonna blame the kids more than anything else. I think that's more the reason than anything else.
Okay, that's fair enough. Oh, by the way, Nate informs me as we've gone on the air, they finished up that golf tournament and Scheffler did win. So, Nate, hey, thank you very much. I was not looking at that. We were trying to get ready to go here today. All right. When you sweep a series, very little you could say was wrong. I play the good, the bad, and the ugly every single Monday after a Red series over a weekend. Give me the good that stands out for you. I mean, they won every game, so let's just start with that. We know that's great. That's better than good. They won 3 in a row over the Angels. But what stood out to you over the weekend?
The bullpen, no question. I mean, 15 innings, 0 runs. I don't think you do much better than that, Tom.
No.
And just the way that they do it, they have a lot of different arms. They have the dominant back-end arms like Fernando Cruz, Lucas Sims, and Alexis Diaz. But then they also have Nick Martinez and Brent Suter that can give you length as well. So it's a really good combination they've got going. The offense, I think, overall is good. I mean, especially when you factor in they start the season down multiple players in the IL. And then over the weekend, I mean, Friday night you were without Jamer Candelario. You were without Encarnacion Strand. Sunday, you're without Jake Fraley and Jonathan India, just some sickness going around. So the fact they were able to score enough runs to win the 3 games, I thought was pretty impressive.
It's very impressive. And, one guy that we don't talk a lot about, I have to tell you, Nick, the more and more I watch this guy, I just wonder where he came from is Cruz. This guy looks to have such confidence out there on the mound, and his stuff is really good. I tell you, I mean, if he keeps going like he's going, I'm not so sure there are going to be many guys around the league that will be a better right-handed setup man than Fernando Cruz. You agree with that?
Tom, I would say of the Reds' current bullpen, if there's a situation where the bases are loaded, I think Fernando Cruz might be my number 1 choice right now.
I think you're right. Yep.
Just because his ability to get swing and misses. Outside of one game, he had one game where he, I think, walked 3 batters. But even in that game, he only allowed 1 run. Like, he still limited the damage. He's just been incredible for – and it's becoming a larger and larger sample, Tom, to where he's a guy that's really trusted. If it wasn't for the fact that Alexis Diaz has been absolutely great for a year and a half, 2 years almost at this point, Fernando Cruz would be a closer on most teams. Fernando Cruz would be the closer on the Philadelphia Phillies right now.
Oh, there's no question. I mean, we're going to get to them in a second. I mean, their bullpen has been an unmitigated disaster. Maybe the last time I checked, the worst in all of Major League Baseball. Okay, if there is any bad over the weekend, anything you kind of said, didn't like that?
I don't know if there's a whole lot bad going on right now. The length of the Reds lineup is probably the thing that I think is going to cause them the most issues, at least until maybe like Noelvi Marte and TJ Friedl are back. I think that you don't have a lot of guys 1 through 9 that you feel with a lot of confidence in, especially the bottom of the order. But the pitching right now I think is good enough to hopefully hold the Reds afloat. And then TJ Friedl should be back in a couple weeks. So that will be a huge boost, I think, to this lineup. And just kind of lengthen, just another guy that you feel like can get on base. TJ Friedl's not going to come up and, hit a ton of home runs or be a massive weapon, but just another guy that can get on base that you just don't want to have holes in your lineup. And I do feel like there's maybe a few holes in the lineup, but that's probably the only thing right now that glares out to me.
Okay. The ugly, I'll say it, the ugly was Montas getting hit, and thank God he's all right. All the x-rays came back. We'll see if he makes his next start or whatever they're going to do. Okay, let's move forward now because – when you look at the Phillies who come in having won 6 in a row, correct me if I'm wrong, but their 6-game winning streak, I think, is against the White Sox and the Rockies. The White Sox are awful. They're on pace for maybe legendary awful, and the Reds have already swept that team. But Philadelphia, this starting pitching, Nick, for this team is just – it's almost beyond belief when you look at some of the numbers, at least through the first month of the season.
The 4 starting pitchers that the Reds are going to face the next 4 days, the worst ERA is 2.53.
Right.
That's unbelievable. Now, look, they have played some weaker competition. That White Sox lineup is terrible. The Rockies especially, they played them in Philadelphia. We know that the Rockies are bad, and we know they've always are way worse on the road than they are at home. So I'm sure that their numbers are a little bit inflated right now. But the guy tonight, Ranger Suarez, Tom, he's really, I think, an underrated pitcher in baseball. I mean, this guy has a career 3.22 ERA over 7 seasons. He started as a reliever. Last several years he's been a starter, but I mean, he really kind of flies under the radar because the headliners are obviously Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola. But this guy's been a very consistent pitcher. Last year in the playoffs, he had a 1.93 ERA in over 18 2/3 innings.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, I off the top of my head, I don't think the Reds saw him in that first series when they beat him 2 out of 3 here. They did not. Okay, all right. Yeah, you're right. This guy, I don't know why. You're right when you have Wheeler and Nola, but this guy, I mean, golly day. I saw the comments made by his manager the other day, and I love hearing stuff like this about guys where, he pounds the strike zone. He's got all kinds of different pitches. I mean, his strikeout to walk ratio is mind-boggling. He'll be going against Hunter Green tonight. But his manager went on to say, Thompson says, this guy fields his position. One of the big strengths for the Reds as a team, they lead the major leagues in stolen bases. He's very good at slowing down the run game. So, this looks tonight, if Green is on his game, they're going to be really good games in this series. But tonight's game is especially appealing if you like the idea of really – potentially really good, dominant starting pitching throwing strikes.
Yeah, and this will be the first time that Hunter Green has ever faced up against Bryce Harper, believe it or not. They've never matched up. And the Reds also, Tom, didn't see Ranger Suarez last year either. It's really weird the way that the baseball schedule has worked. The Reds and Phillies have played all of their games in April each of the last 2 years. Suarez started 2023 on the IL. I think he made his debut in like May. So the Reds haven't most of the Reds hitters. There's only a couple guys that have saw Suarez. India saw him 7 times. Candelario saw him 4 times. Fairchild 5 times, but that's really just about it. So this will be a pitcher that they haven't seen, which that does give me a little bit of a caution going into this game tonight.
One guy, you look at Philadelphia's offense, and they got a couple guys right now that are really red hot. I mean, Harper is swinging a really good bat right now. He's not hitting home runs necessarily. He had the one game where he hit 3 against the Reds. I think he's hit, 1 since then, something like that. But he's hitting almost 400 over the last week and a half, all the information that you were kind enough to supply us with today. The guy I want to ask you about, because he was such a fan favorite here, the 1 year he played here, is Castellanos. He was unbelievable when they started in the playoffs last year. He had that big home run stretch the whole night. But then he goes 0 for 23 against the Diamondbacks, his last 23, in that 7-game NLCS loss. Correct me if I'm wrong. He has not hit a home run this season. Is that right?
He hasn't hit a home run since he had that stretch where he hit 5 home runs in 3 games in the postseason last year. He's not hit a single one. Tom, he only has 1 extra base hit. He got his first extra base hit over the weekend. 1 extra base hit the whole year. So now, look, Castellanos, he loves playing at Great American Ballpark. He's got a career 999 OPS at GABP. So this is a place he likes to play. So, but yeah, he's really struggling right now for the Phillies. They've dropped him down to 7th in the batting order. It's been a tough go for Castellanos.
Well, look, I think everybody roots for him, though, because everybody certainly recognizes this guy is a gamer, and he has said nothing but great things about his experience here in Cincinnati. So, good for him. And I know for all of you, some of you who want to go off on the whole Castellano home run thing, knock yourself out. But, I look at this stretch now, Nick. Look, they beat the Phillies 2 out of 3. Phillies are a good team. They've played the Nationals. Talking about the Reds again now. They've played the White Sox. They played Seattle, who's okay. But now is the stretch where you're going to get tested. They may not be great teams, but there's some pretty good teams on the docket coming up over the next month, including another trip out west. What are you looking at the next, let's say, 30 games? Be okay around 500?
Honestly, Tom, it might be okay for a couple games under 500.
Okay.
And I know Reds fans don't want to hear that, but they have a gauntlet coming up. I don't think they have a series against a team. I don't know if they're all below 500 because it's so early in the year, but the only team that The next team that I feel comfortable about is St. Louis. That's, I believe, Memorial Day. Starts Memorial Day. So they have quite a stretch, and obviously the Cardinals are never going to be easy either. So, yeah, look, this is the time that you're going to be tested. Last year we talked about how tough the Reds' schedule was getting, and the toughest part of their schedule was right in the middle of that 12-game win streak. Remember, they swept the Houston Astros.
Yep, that's right.
So, every baseball game is its own entity, and it's really easy to look ahead at the schedule, and I'm as guilty as anyone and be like, oh, that schedule looks really tough, or that schedule looks really easy. But each individual baseball game is its own thing. It's about the starting pitchers on both sides each day. So, you don't want to get too far ahead, and that's the one thing that I think David Bells is good at anyone at, really trying to stay in the day-to-day and not get too far ahead of himself.
Yeah, last thing I'd ask you about, that's why I think when you look at this weekend, look, you don't have to be a hardcore baseball aficionado to figure out that you can't ask Nick Martinez and Brent Suter to throw 3 innings 2 times a week. And by and large, Abbott especially, certainly Ashcraft by and large, he wasn't great the other day, but he's getting into the 6th, most of his starts, the 7th, that kind. Tonight, to me, and like you just said, I'm not putting all the pressure in the world on Hunter Green, but if there is a game that David Bell needs Hunter Green to be pitch efficient and to be on it, tonight he's got to be on it, right?
Yeah, this is for sure. The way that the bullpen had to be used, you really don't want to use Martinez tonight. Maybe he's available, but he threw, I think, over 40 pitches on Saturday. So you would like to have him at least get another day before you use him. So, yeah, this is a big start for Hunter Green. Hunter Green was more upset than I think anyone about his start in Seattle, that he only went 4 innings. He was very stood up to the media right after the game and said, I got to be better. And I think he will continue to get better. I know people are tired of hearing it, but Hunter Green is the youngest pitcher on the Reds' entire staff, starter or reliever. The Reds only have 2 position players younger than Hunter Green, and Elly De La Cruz and Christian Encarnacion Strand. So I know he's been around a while, but you have to remember this guy is still very young in terms of being a big league pitcher, still trying to figure things out. And I think he'll get better at that as time goes on.
I agree. Look, I get frustrated. You get frustrated. Everybody gets frustrated. But the bottom line is, the guy's stuff is there. But you got to start seeing improvement on throwing more strikes, confidence in real confidence in a secondary pitch, and pitch efficiency we've talked about. Nick, thanks so much. You'll be on later tonight. Heal that voice up. Do whatever you got to do, to get it better, because you got to be ready to go.
Maybe a quick power nap this afternoon. We'll be ready to roll.
Matter of fact, that sounds good right about now. That sounds really good right about now. Nick, thanks for your time, man. Have a great day and continued success. You guys are doing great.
Thanks for having me, Tom. Appreciate it.
All righty. Nick Kirby from Chatterbox Sports, his show, along with Trace Fowler. Chatterbox Reds, they generally speaking, and it does vary, but they generally get going right around the 9th inning, right? Unless it's a bottom of the 8th is important. And then they'll kind of carry you through, and then right into it's the streaming version of extra innings, but it's better than extra innings because you get right to it, and you're not sitting around waiting. I used to get so frustrated when I was doing the games because I used to really like that show, Extra Innings.
Yeah.
But I would get in the car after signing off the broadcast. I would drive, and it'd take me, say, 20 minutes, 18 minutes after a game, depending on how crowded it was, to get out of there and then get home. I would not hear on some nights in an 18 or 20 minutes. Now, they do the post-game, give all the scores from all the other games, but all the commercials. By the time they started Extra Innings, I was already walking in the door at home. I'm not kidding. I used to tell Yeti Armbruster all the time. I'm like, dude, you've got a good show here. But, I know you got to sell stuff and you got to make money, but it's forever. Whereas Chatterbox Reds, it is right now.
Yeah, and they give you some pretty genuine reactions to the game. They don't sugarcoat it. They're not there to please anyone. Trace is going to speak his mind. Kirby is going to speak his mind on what they feel transpired in the game and what to look forward to for the team itself. Yeah, I really enjoy Chatterbox Reds. I don't think I've missed one yet. I've at least tried to tune in for a little bit each time, checking in on the chat.
Yep.
I know a lot of you come from Chatterbox Reds that are in the chat. We appreciate you a lot. This season, it's been up and down, but I would say it's been a lot of fun so far.
Well, I mean, it's the best start since 2013.
Yeah, that's the perspective that we all have to have.
Yes.
And I didn't even know that, to be honest with you. I know that we had a really rough start last year, and that's when I really started focusing and paying attention on the team. But, you know, you got to have that perspective as a fan. This is the best start we've had in a while.
Yeah, the best start, and considering all the guys they're missing. I mean, it's pretty doggone amazing. Without Marte, without McLean, without Friedel, those are three really good players.
Yeah.
Offensively and defensively. And yet these guys, and people beat up David Bell for putting Stuart Fairchild in a 3-hole. I get it. But the guy's trying to do what he can based on the matchups. And believe me, I'm not here defending David Bell as a manager. I'm not. But you do got to give it up to him. I mean, there aren't a lot of teams out there that three bona fide – you can make the argument they'd be the first three hitters in the lineup if all three were healthy.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are moving that guy into the 2-hole that used to bat in the 3-hole. That's been sort of the move in baseball the last number of years. Tony La Russa was the first guy to do that. I mean, I think if they played against a right-handed pitcher tomorrow and everybody was healthy or eligible, I think your first three hitters in a lineup for this team right now would be Friedel, McLean, and Marte. And they're out, and they're winning. So we'll see what happens now that the competition gets stiff, because I am amazed how bad some of these teams are. The Angels stink. They got a couple of good pitchers, but goodness gracious, are they bad. The White Sox, I mean, they're knocking on the door of, like, breaking the all-time record for losses in a season.
That's pretty tough.
It's pretty tough. So, all right. Well, that's going to do it. I want to thank Nick. I want to thank our sponsors, United Dairy Farmers and Encore Technologies. We always thank our main man, Casey McAllister. So between now and Thursday, there's going to be a lot of talk about not only the Reds, but especially the draft. And we'll have it covered for you here on Friday when we come back your way at 12:15.
Sounds good, Tom.
All right, give me your prediction real quick. Here we go. What position do the Bengals take in the first round?
My prediction for the Bengals, it's probably going to be offensive tackle. That would be my guess.
Okay. All right. I'll keep that in mind. Charlie Goldsmith will be with us on Friday to break down the first round of the draft, especially from a Bengals perspective. Don't forget, coming up at 10, as always, it's Off the Bench. Trace Fowler, Elliott, Reed, Casey, and company will all be here. Is Lindsay still around? Is her internship done?
She's finished.
She's finished. She did a great job.
She did a great job.
Really, really enjoyed being around her. She's very, very smart. She's got a very bright future ahead of her, and we wish her nothing but the very, very best. All right, my man. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too, Tom.
Thank all of you for joining us. You can download us. Just search Dialed In with Tom Brenneman, and you're dialed in. We'll see you on Friday.